it's really hard to overlook the market and find the best fit for your product, for your application. Secondly, this will result in voluntary lock-in with the current provider where you have your application deployed. So it's really hard to move applications from one infrastructure as a service provider to another. And last problem we identified is that there are highly underestimated dynamics, not only in pricing but also in performance of the instance. That means the prices of IaaS instances, for example, from AWS, change not only over months or years, but also during in and out. So highly dynamic. But to make this more clear what the problem is, we have an example. Thinking about the energy market, there are 5 different providers. They give you basically the same product, which is energy. And but think about you need different plugs to use this energy, and you would have to monitor the prices in that market so that you can switch the plugs as the price changes. And we think it should be easier to do this. That's why we have the cloud mate sitting in the cloud there. That's your mate, and you will only need one plug, and you plug it in, and CloudMate takes care of everything. It monitors the prices and gives you the best value at the best price. So coming back to cloud computing, this is how the product looks. In the lower left corner, you can see the user, and he will use a service like Docker to build a container around his application. And we see this trend to containerization for cloud applications because it makes it really easy to deploy an application on a certain infrastructure. So the user will provide us this container and just upload it to this very intelligent cloud up there. And this is our service, and it monitors the prices of all different providers over time, and also the performances of the available instances, because although the providers say we have the same instance as Amazon from the technology specs, the performance can be different. Also, we will take into consideration user preferences. For example, nowadays, data has to be protected, and everyone should be concerned about privacy and security. So if a company has needs their data to stay in Europe, they can just implicate it so that we can take this into consideration when choosing a cloud provider. And we will use these metrics to provide a dynamic scheduling of deployment of applications. So if it's only a computing application, we can just stall it on a service, and deploy it again when the price changes. To sum this up, a product is consisting of 3 main parts. The first part is a unified interface for deployment, because you will only need one container, which we can then use to deploy it on any cloud provider. The second part is the continuous monitoring of prices and also the performance of instances. So if your application is very high heavy I/O, we can actually shift it to another provider which fits more that need. And the last part is this dynamic deployment, so we can react on price changes in real time. And this will result in really cost-efficient cloud operations for customers. Now I would like to hand over to them.
Thank you. So, having said what we have a problem, a solution, a market. So how's this market looking right now? According to Gartner, the market is not only big, it's also fast growing. That's the market for infrastructure as a service, all figures in euros. So we see that I have a highly dynamic market on an upward curve with a potential 35% of market growing. We want to leverage on this. We identified 4 customer segments that have an interesting possible scenario for our use case. And those are customers who use computing on demand, testing on demand, virtual desktop infrastructures, and cloud bursting, which is about peaks. Out of these customers, we are optimistic that we can attract 1.5 of this market segment as our market share, which is resulting in 8 million euros. So how's our business model to get value out of this 80 million euros? Currently, you live in the gray world. Nothing is optimized right now. Our vision is that we optimize around 25%, and we charge you for every money spent through CloudMate 5% optimization charge. So this our model is not only reoccurring with every euro you spend through our cloud. It's what's necessary to make this happen. We need 1 million in the first investment round, and we believe that we can achieve out of those 1 million within the third year a break even. And after this break even, we can really leverage on this highly dynamic market and achieve an earnings before interest and taxes of 4.7 million euro. How would we like to raise this money? We would like to go hand in hand with a mix of business angels and incubators, because what we need most right now are contacts to corporations and guidance and so that's our investment strategy. Are there risks to make us stop? Yes, there are risks, but we know how to mitigate on them. The biggest risk we see is the current risk of trust and security in the cloud. So we have to introduce this into our business DNA from day one, and we really have to leverage on this thing. The second we see is that the cloud market might become highly indynamic in the meantime until we reach the market. It might become an oligopoly where prices are basically stuck and you all end up with Amazon Web Services every time. But we are trying to solve this situation by introducing cloud-made into the market. And the last risk we see is that there are competitors right now out in the market who compare clouds against each other, but they don't do deployment. When they would try to do deployment, we need to be really fast. So who's behind cloud-made? It's Kilian, our engineer. It's Tom taking care of financials as a lawyer and an engineer. Sven taking care of computer science, and me taking care of the business and tying it all up. That's cloud-made. Let's make the cloud intelligent.
Questions?
If I start actually more as a comment, so when you talk about risk, so risk is a kind of, you typically have a kind of combination of the probability of the risk and the impact of the risk. So that I'm looking at these things, I'm not necessarily seeing the kind of, if you multiply these two together, so what is the biggest risk for you actually in that sense? So kind of when thinking of these kind of things, so think of both things. It might be very unlikely that something happens, but the world ends. It's actually quite a big risk still, so to play in general. More as a kind of, or second question, when you talk about this kind of potential higher AAS cases and so on, so what are the kind of typical cases that would use your service? If I think of kind of cases where you have a lot of data, you actually don't switch over that easily, so that there's kind of those kind of questions.
Yeah, what we try right now is that we would really focus on only the 4 dimensions we mentioned, because that's data that's usually quite well isolated, like testing environments, for example. So that's why we narrow down from day one, and that's how we want to go on actually, to catch customers with a few very handy scenarios and try to lure them away from the current platform.
And also may I add, because of this huge potential you have to actually save money, and we have some references because there are companies who are only monitoring and giving you advice how to change your infrastructure, and they say that they can save their customers on average 40%. So I think even if you have a huge amount of data you would have to move around, still the traffic that will cause